Talks. So our objective today is to delve a little more deeper and get a few tips from all of you PGP2s about your autumn internship, especially in the finance specialization. So let's get started.
So let's start with a quick round of introduction. Can you all briefly introduce yourselves?
Sure. My name is Krrish Chhablani. I did my engineering from University in Indore. Prior to joining SPJIMR, I worked for 3 years after my engineering in management consulting. And then I chose to do my specialization in finance within SPJIMR. And during my autumn's placement, I worked for a boutique investment banking firm called Goa Capital, where I was helping clients raise private placement from a private equities.
Okay. Hi, my name is Neha, Ayyar. So I've done my undergrad from Mumbai itself, Mitibai College. I completed my bachelor's in financial markets, which is a BCom specialization degree. I went on to work with JP Chase for 2 years in FX market operations. Post that, I had a brief stint with Deloitte India within the financial advisory practice. That's it. And last year, I did my autumn's internship with GEF Capital Partners, which is a private equity firm.
Hi, and I'm Murali, Krishna. Just like Neha and Krrish here, I'm a second year PGDM student specializing in finance here at SPJIMR. Prior to that, I did my undergraduate at NIT Trichy, proper engineer, and a pivot to finance was something that I was not expecting at that time. Post my undergrad, I worked for about 11 months at Citibank, and then I switched to finance here at SPE. And my autumn's internship was at Hindustan Unilever, where I worked in the role of a supply chain finance intern.
So coming to the internship placement process as preparation. So how did you all start? So it's very unstructured. There's a lot to prepare and as such. So where did you all start, and what were the sources that helped you primarily?
And when did you start with that? Was it during the SEC exam?
Sure. So maybe I can go first. So I was preparing for both finance specific roles and consulting roles, because initially I was open to both. For consulting, my preparation started from DOCC only. So consulting club will share some resources through which you can get a get start, like some case books and some structured frameworks. They also share some YouTube videos to get you started. So that's how my preparation started. And then I think the CV preparation time, when we started creating CVs, I think it was near UCC time only. During that time, what we can do that while we are creating the CV pointers, we can also deep dive on all the CV pointers and how we can explain it in the interview when it is required. So these two things started during DOCC. When we came after DOCC, the fourth term was the preparation was the time where finance preparation started for me. The subjects like corporate valuation, investment banking. So the projects within these subjects really helped me get started in the finance specific preparation. And then the final stretch in the preparation came when we started looking into the interview transcripts of last 2-3 years and giving mock interviews. So that was the last and the most crucial stretch in both for me in consulting and in finance.
So I was always very consulting focused. I didn't want to do finance at all. So for me, I was like, you know what, I will not prepare for finance at all. Consulting, so two things really helped. I spent my entire DOCC working on my CV, right? So every evening, 3-4 hours, I was just working on CV points. Now you will have 3 rounds of CV reviews. One with us, right? You will be PPC will assign you all with us. That's what happened with us. Then one will be with someone from consulting club, and one will be an analyst. So I took all 3 rounds very seriously. Whatever feedback I got from all 3, I tried to incorporate it to make like 7-8 iterations of a point. And eventually I did all of that during my DOCC, right? So every day I sat with my CV. And it was, the output was so good that I didn't have to change a word for my finals. So you make it once, you make it thoroughly. So that's what I did during DOCC, nothing else. Consulting, what really helped me was the CC club sessions. They start as soon as you come back from your DOCC, right? So they'll have your sessions where they're explaining the framework to you, and then there are practice sessions, and I've not missed a single one, I think, maybe 1 or 2, but I was that sincere with consulting. Finance, I was a part of investing club, right? So we did valuation in the first year itself, much before the rest of the batch does it in 4th term. That really helped. In 4th term, it just got more clearer for us. But a major chunk of your finance technicals come from valuation as a subject. So for everybody in finance, take the COPVAL subject very seriously. The project that you get, right, your term for COPVAL project, there'll be a group project, there'll be an individual project. Don't try to copy it, don't try to find shortcuts. If you sit and do it thoroughly on your own, so many of your finance concepts get cleared and you won't need to prep as much later on. So I think COPVAL, consulting club sessions and make CV during the OCC.
Now I'm thinking I should have gone second because Neha just stole a part of my answer. But like Neha said, a lot of us would agree on the fact that we started off with consulting prep first. I was a proper consulting guy and I did nothing but consulting cases throughout my DOCC. We had a small group of friends, my friends, we paired up together, we did consulting cases over video call. But my actual finance prep started only after I had a mock interview sometime in the middle of April that was organized with TPC. And trust me, it was a disaster. And the alumni who came and took my interview, he roasted me left, right and center and left me devoid of all hope and motivation at the end of the interview. But then he gave me a lot of insights on where I was going wrong, and then only I realized that I have to get my fundamentals right. And it was also the time when all these projects came flocking in. And in addition to the COPVAL project, which I took it up as my entire life for the 2 months and did, I still remember facts and figures from that project even to this day. It was such a fun project. The individual evaluation assignment at least.
Even the same
academic group, yeah, actually.
And I think we were like, let's take initiative and do it.
Exactly.
It's not so. We had a chartered accountant with us,
Correct.
right? And one of the DMLs, a very smart guy.
Yeah.
So we could have just let it be like, he'll do it, he'll
Yeah.
manage. But the two of us were like, no, we want to learn.
Exactly.
So we were like, let's divide work so that we also get that.
Yeah, correct. But in addition to the COPVAL project, I think what we did well was also the other projects which was on mergers and acquisitions as well as a sector analysis which comes in the portfolio management course basically. The mergers and acquisition project was so effective in such a way that the relevance of it, we did it on the PVR Inox merger, and the relevance was such that it in my post-intern interview, which I had to sit for my finals offer, they asked me about that project, and I still believe to this day that it was the offer that got me. It was that particular the project that got me my final offer. So do not ever take the projects that come in term 4 lightly is what we say. And one more thing is always make it in such a way that the sectors that you pick or the companies that you pick for those projects kind of align with what you want to do in the future or where you want to get to. So it should not be like you are not fully indulged in that topic and yet you are doing it just for the sake of doing it. So take the companies and the sectors in such a way, plan it ahead and take it in such a way that you are prepared for it and you will use it somewhere in the future also. So the projects were something that helped out a lot. And also being someone who has not had a lot of finance background in the past, I also had a lot of fundamentals to catch up on, which came up eventually. But I think most of term 4 was more than enough. The content that was shared by the PPC as well as the lessons that were taught in class, I think listening to that diligently is more than enough to prepare for the finals.
I think Murali raised one very important point that understanding the sector is also very important. Like I did a valuation project on Excite, and after the project explanation that I gave in the interview, they wanted me to share that what are the different government initiatives are going to take place here. So understanding sector and what are the different government initiatives also. So understanding the sector overall and macroeconomic environment around it is also important.
So very useful and different insights from what we actually thought apart from the PTC prep and investing club. The CAD project is something that we need to focus upon. Okay, so now moving on to your internship project, could you all briefly tell us about what was your internship project and what were the challenges that you faced and how was it for you guys?
Sure. So I did multiple projects, but the 2 projects that took the most of my time were for 2 different industries. One was LCD glass and one was steel manufacturing, where I was helping 2 different companies raise capital from private equities. So in that we have to create 2 different deliverables. One was the corporate valuation project, corporate valuation module, and the investor pitch, so that we can share it with the investors and all. So I think the challenges, as we mentioned that in the 4th term, we did the corporate valuation project, and that helped me immensely while I was working. So that was very helpful. The challenge I would say I really faced that I was not good at creating PPTs, and in an investor pitch you have to make very good looking PPTs. They should be aesthetically good. So that is something I was facing challenging with. But apart from it, if you cover your concepts of finance fundamentally good, I think in internships within IB or private equity sector, they won't be much challenging. I think the curriculum at a college is much more than enough, right, to prepare us for.
So my project at GEF involved supporting an investment thesis on the commercial and industrial renewable sector. So GEF is a private equity fund that focuses on either sustainable companies or companies that are following sustainable practices, right? So they were looking to invest in the CNI renewable sector. They had not before. So it was more of, so this was 60 to 70% of my work. Now they were, to invest in a sector, you need to know everything about the sector, the government policies that affect the sector. Starting from unit economics of solar, renewables, open access solutions, to actually digging into state-wise policies and how charges differ state-wise. That was my entire project. I compared some 9 companies across financial and operating metrics, went through their credit rating reports, etc. to sort of understand, is investing into the sector. The question I had to answer is, should GEF go and even look for opportunities in the sector? Forget about investing in a company, but should we enter the sector, right? My biggest challenge was, I remember asking one of my engineer friends that, what is kilowatt per hour? I'm not understanding, because the charges, every charge in every government policy is something is kilowatt per hour. Someone is mentioning voltage, ampere. I'm like, why are these metrics so different? So that is the very technical aspect of it, which I got around. But again, renewables as a sector is not intuitive, right? Today your consumer products is very intuitive. So you can gas around, but I remember my mentor, right, when I used to go to him, and I've done everything he's asked me to, and then he just pose another question. I can't try to find linkages with my previous knowledge and gas my way around, because nahi pata tha
You have to do
mujhe.
research. There is no.
Yeah, so he said, now you go and find this and come. You go and find this and come. So that was like a biggest challenge, and I could not, I think even after so much research, I could only cover like 30-40%, because there's so much I don't know about the sector. So yeah, but interesting. Yeah.
Before I actually get into the details of my project, I should talk about the landscape I was put in the project in. Because before I got, the moment I got into HL, I was celebrating. I was already making plans for what all I was going to do in Mumbai in those 2 months. I was like, I'm going to go with all my friends, party in the weekends, work in the weekdays and everything. 5 days before the start of my internship, I get my offer letter. Everyone else gets their offers. Everyone else gets their location as Mumbai. My friend called me and told me he got his location in Mumbai. I was like, okay, Mumbai, expected. Looked at my offer letter. It mentioned a word called Sumerpur. I was like, what is Sumerpur? Sumerpur factory. I thought, okay, fine, it was be some factory close to Mumbai. Probably I should go. Then I looked up Sumerpur on the map. It was a village 100 kilometers outside of Kanpur in Uttar Pradesh. It was on a highway. I looked up the satellite view of the map. There was the factory. There was nothing else around. Nothing else, absolutely nothing else. So being someone from the south who had absolutely no idea of how the Mumbai landscape itself is, I was put in a place called Sumerpur. And my friends still mock me to this day because I ranted about that entire thing for almost 4 to 5 days. Till the day I was supposed to go to Sumerpur, I was just ranting. This is bad, this is bad, this is bad. No, I don't want to go there. I was even planning on getting a location change, my location changed and coming back to Mumbai at the end of the first week. I had packed only so much for a 1 week trip to Sumerpur then. But then the first day was horrible because the plant experience is very different. I was put in a plant finance role where I had to manage, my projects were more related to the fiscal unit plant that they had set up over there and its controls. So HUL has a very big thing called controllership, where you have to look at the risks and governance that are that are concerned with setting up a plant itself before a new unit can be started off. And that was my main project on. So I had a list of almost 70-80 controls which I had to go manually to the units, various units of the plant, check if they were in place, and if not, what were the financial, if they were set up, what were the financial ramifications of it, and if they were not, what exactly should be done in order to make it in a more finance specific way, align it to the company's goals. So that was my main project, and it took a lot of work because there was a lot of manual data collection that had to be done. And there were a lot of departments as well, because I had to go between those plants, and I had to take almost a 5-kilometer walk back and forth between the 2 units, almost 5-6 times during the entire course of my stay over there. And supplementary projects where I was also asked to do a cost analysis of the production costs across all the detergent plants of HUL in the country. That was another project that I had. And one more thing was to see how the cost itself was being impacted because they had recently set up a distribution center inside the plant itself. So there were 3 projects that I had to work on simultaneously. And I was thinking it was going to be too much of a challenge. But the issue was, it was good that I was given 3 projects because the structure in a big organization, especially when it comes to a plant, is in such a way that you will not be able to meet any of the plant officials during the general shift. So that's from morning 10 a.m. till evening 5 p.m. You will not be able to meet anyone over there because they will be busy with the manufacturing aspect of it. If you want to get any input from them, you will have to do it post 5 p.m. or before 10 a.m. So the amount of inputs you will be getting and whether you are even able to meet them during the course of the day is going to be a hard task. So you'll have to prioritize in such a way that all the 3 projects somehow get done. And thankfully, out of the 3 projects, I think 2 were almost done to completion, and I passed them on to the other team members there. There was another project, the 3rd project got a bit shelved because there was some operational difficulties going on in the plant itself. But overall, the experience itself was wonderful. Even though it was not a core finance project as such, there was a lot of stuff I could learn about the entire plant. So when I came for my post-internship review here at SP, my review alone went on for almost 1.5 hours. I didn't let the faculty just close the interview. It's usually like the faculty wants you to keep talking and you will try to get out of it. But for a change this time, I was making the faculty sit over there and listen to me rambling on and on about the experience I had for the course of the 2 months.
And it was your second?
It was my actual DOCC. DOCC time I was in proper Jaipur and I was roaming around the city and I was having a lot of fun, and it was karma that hit me right back. This was actual DOCC, but it was actually a very good time because during the internship time, the solitude that I got over there in the village itself, it was very good because there was a lot of time to myself that I could work on various other things itself. So apart from the internship itself, the experience of going to that place, being in a different situation and everything that's totally alien to someone like me, that was very enlightening. So I would say the overall experience was wonderful, and coming back I would definitely say if they were to put me in the remotest of places tomorrow, which they are going to of course, I'd definitely be able to survive it more than just rant for an entire week about it like I did last time.
That's great to hear. Very diverse experiences, but I think all of you ended on the note that it was a good experience.
Yeah.
All of you enjoyed it. So yeah, I think that's a good takeaway. Now diverting a little bit. So let's say among first years or even before joining a B school, especially when you're thinking of a finance specialization, a buzzword is CFA. Okay, so whether you should take the level 1, if you have a level 1, should you go forward, or is there some other course that you have to? So what were your perspectives in the first year, and now that you're done with your internship, has the perspective changed?
So honestly, I'm not a CFA. So maybe if Murali or Neha want to start on this. So
I'm not a CFA either. I'm planning to take it later. I've scheduled my CFA level 1 in May this year. But honestly, I don't think it matters much because CFA level 1, or rather the CFA charter itself, is just another certification that you get to strengthen your fundamentals. And honestly, if you were to ask me if it kind of improves your chances of getting shortlisted or not, I think it would be so-so. Because some companies, they might probably have an internal, let's say, a preference for CFAs or CAs, and they might probably go with them. But on an overall note, if you have done some solid work, if your projects are good, and if your, of course, grades are not being listed, but of course, if your projects are good and whether you show some solid work itself in these projects and whether you're able to, if you're able to talk about it, I think it should make much of a difference than the CFA course certification on your CV itself. I think it's just going to be another addition to it. But with that said, I don't think I would say that to not take the CFA at all, because the CFA kind of acquaints you more with finance. And it's actually one of the reasons why I'm taking the CFA right now, because I want to be acquainted with the concepts of finance itself. Kind of makes me more familiar with it and sticks me to that domain. And even though I might not be using the core finance concepts, but if I had to, let's say, look for a different job tomorrow, I must know what exactly goes on. So I should want to stay connected to the concepts itself. So that's why I'm taking the CFA. But apart from that, in a placement perspective, I don't think it matters much. That's my opinion at least.
You want to go?
Yeah, so my story is a little long and it starts years ago. That so when you're doing commerce, right, in 11th and 12th, the buzzword in 12th is आपको CA करना है, right? And so my cousin was doing CA, and there are a lot of CAs in my mom's side of the family generally. So that's a big thing. That CA करना है क्या? And I was like, no. But what will I do then? And I just said, you know what, when I'm in my third year, I will give first level of CFA. That was in 2016 I said that, okay. And in my third year of undergrad, I actually gave level 1, I cleared it, which was 2018. And then 2019 I got placed and I was like, no, I don't want to do level 2 this year, so I'll wait for a year. And then COVID hit. I had enrolled for level 2 in 2020. But then COVID hit, it got postponed 3 times.
Yeah.
So I lost a year and a half there, I couldn't give a single attempt. The 4th time when it actually happened, I had made up my mind to do CAT. So then I couldn't, right? So now wo level 2 to chhoot hi gaya. I don't think my level 1 has helped me get any shortlist as such. Nobody in my interviews in any of the companies I sat for has asked for my level 1. I think that is because my background has been fin heavy. I did my undergrad also in BCom finance, right? So because my background has been finance, I'm doing my MBA in finance, it doesn't.
Work is also related to.
WorkX was somewhat related to finance, so I don't think they even looked at CFA. So I am not the best person to, let's say, advise that will it be good. What I have, because I have friends who've done L3. I know one of my friends who's done L3, who's completed L3, is waiting for the charter. He was having a trouble making an entire valuation model, and as an MBA we can do it. So CFA will not help you make a valuation model.
Yeah.
It is a very theoretical certification that can make you know about finance, know formulas. But for me, what has really helped me is actually taking a company, having 3 financial statements and forecasting and making a model. That will teach you more of finance than CFA L2, because I've studied for L2 3 times. I've not given the exam even once, and L2 is valuation heavy. But right, studying for L2 3 times, I couldn't even touch a financial model. But an MBA gives you that. So having an MBA from a premier B school, MBA in finance, I don't think CFA is required. However, if you want to get into very specific fields like private equity, IB, or be a portfolio manager someday, having a CFA charter does add some credibility, but I'm not sure. Like,
It's the charm.
Yeah, not the level.
Yeah.
That's exactly what a lot of people also advise us. Like the level 1 doesn't matter much. At least to me, it felt like a way that I can dedicate myself to some aspect of finance and get myself acquainted to it, because I was
Just
not
be in touch with it.
exactly. I didn't have a finance background per se, and I wanted to be in touch with it. So therefore, I am taking the CFA. But apart from that, there is no particular reason in a placement perspective. Definitely not to actually take a CFA.
Adding to that, like a lot of people have that, and even the juniors that I've spoken to from your batch, right? मैं L1 कर लेता हूँ, वो मेरे CV में होगा तो मेरे को shortlist आता है. No.
That doesn't really work.
The first thing, shortlist don't work that way.
Thanks for clarifying.
Not at all, right? Because L2s have also not got shortlist.
Yeah.
So nobody's looking there.
Sorry. But the best place to start with valuations, I think all of us would agree on that, would be Ashwath Damodar, I guess.
Yeah.
Everyone suggests that. Like, there is no better place to be. Like, that's like the haven to be in when you are looking at something related to valuation.
So, if I tell you about my past, so I was an engineer, worked in consulting, and then started doing my MBA in finance. So when I was doing my internship, I first realized that CFA की जरूरत तो नहीं है, IB में internship मिल गई है, everything will go good. But then I realized that when I was talking to the people and they were shocked that तूने CFA नहीं किया, you haven't done any CFA and how are you here? So it was not like that I was not able to do the work, but it was like they were expecting कि if you are an engineer, if you are a non-fin background people, so CFA as Neha mentioned doesn't guarantee that you will get a shortlist, but it shows that you are interested in a field and you are going to devote some time, so it gives some credibility. So if you have a background non-fin background, then I think CFA doing CFA will not guarantee a shortlist, but it will guarantee that in the future you might end up on a good job in IB or private equity. So if you want to take up those jobs, do the CFA, not for the shortlist.
That's actually.
Okay, so coming to the last question, what is the advice that you would like to give to TGP ones in terms of what is the expectation that we should set for
Some
ourselves?
realistic expectations.
Yeah.
Shortlists are random ones. I mean, like predictable. I wouldn't even say predictably random. They are actually random. In fact, like there are some cases where you can predict, but when it comes to finance, at least I think if you have a fin-heavy background and if you have a lot of projects that are related to finance, I think you stand better chances of getting a shortlist. But in case at a private equity or an investment banking firm, that is. But if it comes to, let's say, some role like corporate banking or corporate finance or consulting or something like that, again, there too I think a lot matters on the work X relevance to the role itself. One. Second thing, if the work X is not relevant, the next thing that they are going to come to is your projects and see how good your projects have been and whether or not it inclines with them. So that kind of brings me back to the point where I told to pick sectors or your companies wisely when it comes to it. So let's say, for example, you have a SAPM project, a security analysis and portfolio management project, where you'll be doing a sector analysis. Let's say, for example, you take the FMCG sector over there. You might probably attract the attention of an FMCG firm when it comes to corporate finance roles. And you'll have something to talk about as well. You might be grilled or you might not be grilled on that project itself, but you know for a fact that you have something to talk about the FMCG industry when you go for the interview. So I think that kind of is where I would, that is one of my suggestions. So pick your projects wisely first, and second thing is to not have much like predictions on the shortlist itself.
So shortlists are random, but I would say PPO conversion are also, if I talk about fin specific, this time I think more than 50% of the fin batch have to sit for finals, because many companies have said in the starting in the pre-placement talks only that we will not offer any PPOs. So if you want a good experience, you can come here. So I would say in terms of expectations, keep your expectations in terms of learning very high. Very good companies come to our campus in autumns. In terms of PPO, I would say that do what you can control in the right way possible, and then if you have to sit for the finals, then finals is also going to be very good for the finance. So what you can control, do it in the best way, your projects and your work, and then everything I think falls in the right place at the right time.
So focus on the controllable aspects and just not worry too much about what's out of your control.
Yeah.
And just adding to what Murali said, of course it is like very, very, very random. I'm very keyword in a I'll tell you why, okay? So through a case comp, I got a PPO, right? Won't name the company.
Yeah.
And I think I have been, like, people have told me you are bold enough to reject it. It was a very good company. Okay? But I was like, I want to do consulting. So when I did not clear my BCG interview, right, it all came flashing in front of my eyes that, oh, I have, rejected, not prepared for finance at all, right? There's no other consulting shortlist that I have. I'm not prepared for finance. And I even rejected a PPO. So now what? That thing. So very, very random. And you won't believe this, but because of my PE internship, I got suddenly my inclination towards consulting just dropped, and I fell in love with finance. And for finals, I was like, I don't want to sit for consulting at all. I want IB. Right? I was that clear, right? So it's not, you're never sure what you want to do unless, you go through audience and then you realize